Hello, my name is Olaf Swantee and I'm a board member at Anapaya. I'm passionate about technology and innovation, and I've worked my career in IT and in telecommunications. And today I want to talk about SCiON and why telecommunications companies, in particular in Europe, should really pay attention to this new technology. Technical disruption and innovation really matters. They enable challenger companies to gain share, give customers more choice, and change entire business models. You typically have challenger brands that bring more like enhancements, new pricing, or tweaks. And then you have the real disruptors, like you can see on these slides, that bring entire new paradigms to a market or to a business. And this is really essential also for the telecommunications market. In telecommunications, you find in Europe that typically the number 2 or number 3 company in terms of market share has really brought innovation and disruption. Examples are Bouygues Telecom in France, which was one of the first to bring real converged products to the market, combinations of mobile and fixed products. MásMóvil in Spain, which has tremendously gained market share through a light asset infrastructure model. O2 in the UK, through branding and marketing, and Sunrise UPC by being the first in 5G and driving a quality-centric strategy into the Swiss market. But why am I talking to you about telecommunications? Let me start by sharing a few facts about the telecommunications industry. 2.4 million people are employed in telecommunications. It drives 125 billion euro in economic value, and yes, it pays a lot of taxes, 85 billion euro. And it was the first to commit, the first industry to commit to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. But most importantly, I would argue, it's an industry that provides a product and service that is intrinsic in the society, that is so important that we use it all the time. Globally, the telecommunications companies are really challenged by the so-called over-the-top players, the people that leverage the internet for products and services that are not regulated and sold directly to end customers. You can see this from this chart on the left, where you have McKinsey analyzing the market cap and the share of profit of the top 8 listed internet companies versus the top 25 telecommunications companies. And it is very obvious and clear that the internet companies are winning. And not surprising, on the right hand side, you can see the revenue growth, which has really stalled in the telecommunications industry. Despite the fact that people use the products and services even more during COVID, and despite the fact that the capital that needs to be invested in new networks is absolutely enormous. So what can telecommunications companies do to change the trend, to grow revenue again and beat the internet companies? Well, clearly investments in new infrastructure such as 5G or FTTH can help. Branding can help. New packages and new products, in particular combinations of fixed, mobile, TV, internet. But also upselling to a better internet can be a real option to increase the average revenue per user, increase the differentiation, in particular in the B2B market, and to take a stronger position with government and society on helping to secure a better internet. Let's start by explaining why we need a more secure internet. The European telecommunications market is absolutely accelerating. We have 475 million unique subscribers. And the big challenge for the industry and for the internet is that now we have people, in future we will add machines. The prediction is 4.3 billion machines, so-called IoT connections by 2025. And that means not only more connections, it also means more critical data that will enter the communications infrastructure. And the total data, no surprise, will double pretty much every single year. In total, 4 times by 2026. If the number of subscribers and machines on a network grow, the data grows. But more importantly, the relevance of the data changes and is much more critical. As a result, cybercrime will be on the rise as well, and is on the rise. We see a 39% year-over-year increase in the frequency of the attacks. The average size is bigger, now 1 gig per second. 1 in 3 enterprises experiences more cyber attacks. And that's not a real surprise, because the protocol, the internet protocol, was not designed for security. The so-called Border Gateway Protocol, which was introduced in 1989, was there to create an open communications architecture. It basically routes a data packet based on the fewest hops between entities or domains. And it doesn't take into account how long that path is. It doesn't take into account if the path goes through North Korea or through China or somewhere else. And it doesn't really look at performance of the equipment either. As cybercrime is on the high, clearly there is also more laws and regulations that telecommunications companies need to deal with. Last year, US President Biden issued an executive order on cybersecurity, and the EU's own NIS2 directive came into force. The famous ISO 27001, which is the official information security standard, will be updated and will become much, much tougher. And in parallel, we see across Europe, but also in the US, more and more regulation around end customer data. And I personally know, if you run a telecommunications company and if you have an issue, a breach on your customer data, you risk the entire company. I mean, we have seen situations like TalkTalk in the UK where companies nearly went bankrupt over the fact that their customer data was attacked by criminals. And that's why what organizations really need today is an internet infrastructure that is universal, that is flexible, but very secure and reliable. Today's infrastructure is extremely accessible, but not secure nor reliable. And as you can see on this chart, today's internet architecture exposes companies to risk from malicious IP traffic that they don't control. So what can SCiON offer? Essentially, what is exciting about SCiON, what it offers as a new internet protocol, it really creates the opportunity for closed user groups on the normal public internet. So essentially, when you think about it today, most companies that want to create a closed user group, they use lease lines. They use an MPLS system. SCiON, through its internet protocol, allows you and enables you to do that on the public internet. And it does that by giving you or your CIO or CTO control over the data paths. 2, by not only offering one path, but multiple paths. So if one path fails, you automatically have another path that takes over, creating a more reliable communication. And DDoS security is by design part of the solution. Now back to those telecommunications companies. What can they do with SCiON? What can they do to increase their revenue? Well, first of all, with this new internet protocol and the support of companies like Anapaya that have the necessary systems integration expertise and also the actual products and services, telecommunications companies can provide this to their business customers. Customers that want to have an alternative to a traditional lease line model. A faster way to make the public internet secure and reliable. And then the second opportunity, which is really all this slide is actually talking about, is, of course, the future of work is an enormous opportunity. Because as we know, all large B2B companies have typically their employees now working from home, either partially or even completely. And we have all been in those Zoom calls where an employee switches off, or where the line is not stable, or worse, where employees have been attacked, DDoS attacks, cybercrime. And it is an enormous opportunity for telecommunications companies to come with an offering using SCiON and Anapaya to help these companies to make that line with the employee more secure and more reliable. I don't think that I have to convince you or any telco that this particular opportunity is enormous. I mean, all businesses have an increasing number of employees working from home, and that is not going to change when COVID is not there anymore. Myself, the companies where I'm involved, that I run, all have increased the number of employees that work from home across every function, and not just in the call center area. But what most people probably didn't know is that cybercrime has spiked 600% since the start of COVID-19. And that, of course, a lot of malware is targeting those remote workers. And the issue that IT departments have is that increasingly there is a dependency on cloud-based applications, which require permanent communication through the public internet. And that is why I'm so excited about the opportunity for a telecommunications company to create a secure home user access with SCiON. A solution that provides 100% of DDoS protection of the VPN gateway. And a solution where there is no zero-day exposure from the internet. But it's not only about security, it's also about reliability. With SCiON, you have multi-pathing. You know, and you have experienced that Zoom call where you suddenly broke out. With multi-pathing from SCiON, you have failover, so you will have no interruption on your line. You have more control. You can select the routes for your data. And cost, simplicity, and flexibility, you don't need to install or buy multiple private connections from different MPLS suppliers. You can use the existing public internet, and you can amend and change the routes quickly. Finally, telecommunications companies should take the opportunity with SCiON to change the narrative. Over the last few years, telecommunications companies have been attacked by fake news about 5G, conspiracy theories that trees will die because of 5G, hysteria about Huawei. The core infrastructure from telecommunications company is permanently under attack from society. With SCiON, the opportunity is to change the message and to become proactive about security improvements on the existing internet. And it will be great if Europe comes back with some true innovation in telecommunications. We were the ones that invented the GSM. We were the first with providing network equipment. And now we are dwarfed by Asia and the United States. So come on, telco world, say goodbye to Zoom bombing, freezing, jittering, and security concerns, and all the other areas that we covered today. Enjoy Anapaya's other telco partners, Sunrise, Swisscom, and Switch, in revolutionizing how organizations do business.